If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. If you need any help with copywriting, public relations, social media, email marketing, graphic design or website design, talk to Sophie Barrington at Archer Creative. She gives a wide variety of service to help you increase your bottom line through investment in marketing dollars. Simply go to horsechats.com, search for Sophie, search for Barrington, or search for Archer Creative to find out more. Today's guest is Carlos. Now, Carlos, it's going to be a bit of a tongue twister. It's Tabernaberri, is that right?
Well said. That's good. Yes.
All right. How are you anyway?
Good, thank you, Glenys. How are you?
Oh, very good, very good. Now, Carlos, to introduce you, before we even ask you for your favourite quote or anything else, I've just got a bit of information here that I'm going to read. So as a trainer and educator, my focus is on the horses and people whom I work and helping them to achieve their full potential. We shouldn't be divided by discipline. We should be united by good horsemanship. I truly believe there's no such thing as natural horsemanship. There's simply good horsemanship. Any good horsemanship is about consistently considering the horse's well-being first and foremost. I think that's a great lot of information about you. I don't know if you call that a quote or not, or if you've got another quote that you'd like to tell us about.
There's probably one of the many quotes that I give people, and I see there seems to be a little bit of sort of separation in different disciplines, and then people comparing, different disciplines to others. But I think that's what I would say, that, I'm sort of very fortunate that I get to work with people from all different backgrounds, all different disciplines. And I would say that we should be united a little bit more for the sake of the horse in good horsemanship. And good horsemanship is pretty much putting the horse first and the welfare of the horse. And I think regardless of the choice in discipline you do, is that we can all have a common goal towards good horsemanship.
Yes, okay. No, I think that explains it. And I think what you've said there, just explaining about yourself, is good, and it is. It's good horsemanship, and we should be united.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Now, you were born in Argentina. Is that right? Tell us just briefly what you did in Argentina. What made you had a little bit of a change in thought of the way that horses were trained to bring you to where you are today. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. So I'm, people that read my book might be familiar. I'm a fourth generation horseman. And I always said that, I always felt that I didn't learn anything, even though a lot of things are passed down and traditions are passed down to you. But I grew up watching the traditional way of horse, as I don't like the word, but the horse breaking and their way of handling the horses. I mean, horses are used to for work to this day in Argentina, especially with cattle. And I always say I've learned the traditions don't make things right, just because if a tradition doesn't necessarily mean that it is the right thing to do, even though we can draw a lot of great things from tradition. So I grew up seeing from my back fence, we actually lived behind one of the Argentinian horse cultural centers where they go just have break horses every weekend and every week. And just the cruelty that I was exposed to, it used to break my heart. And I remember once these festivities were over, walking to the horses past the fence and just trying to touch the horses, but these horses were really afraid. And I made a promise very young, and I said, if I ever touch a horse, I make sure I speak on their behalf. So I guess I didn't follow tradition, and I tried. I'm self-taught or horse-taught, as I better like to say. Yep. And just that I was going to do pretty much the opposite of what I've seen, and I let the horse be the teacher, and I was the student. So that's how it all came about, sort of that I'm big into the gentleness of training, and I believe that, if you're gentle with horses, it's a strength, it's not a weakness. And I think that people might think sometimes that if you're gentle with horses, they're going to walk all over you, but it's further from the truth. So, in essence, I didn't follow the traditions of where I grew up. I kept a lot of great things, a lot of the classical stuff and that Spanish, French influence, and I apply that to my training, but not the way horses were handled.
Okay. And then working professionally with horses, is that your way then of being able to let the horse be the teacher so you can be the student, and being able to have your voice in the world so you can speak on behalf of the horse? Is that what led you to that career with horses?
100, yeah. So what happened was I made a promise, like I said it's almost like a moral contract with horses, and I said that I would speak up on behalf of the horse. And then the horse training, as a kid, if someone asked me, when I grow up and train horses, I always said there's nothing to teach a horse. The horse is born knowing everything. So I just want to be a voice rather than train. I think training horses is a bad word. It's more like, I always say, try not to get in the way so much,
Yep. So for people, because you teach a lot of students, and what sort of personality is going to be the best student when the horse is the teacher? What sort of things should we be in ourselves to be open to that sort of learning?
I think what we have to do is, and the approach that I always have, that's where everything, like I said, that I publish is pretty much called through the eyes of the horse, not through the eyes of Carlos or anything. So I think it's putting ourselves from the point of view where the horse sees things and where the horse is coming from, and going to the horse with an empty cup and not having ego, obviously. That's probably the biggest roadblock between horses and people is, I say horses don't read resumes, and a lot of times we can go to the horse and say, well, I trained in the Spanish riding school, or I did this and that, I went to the Olympics, or whatever it might be, but horses don't Google my name or anyone's name, they're not interested on the charts, they are in the moment, as we know, and it is that approach that we have. And if I think we approach from the point of view of the horse with an empty cup and not having a resume or an ego, I think that's how we can make progress with horses, regardless of your, sort of personalities people or horses might have,
Yeah. What about horses? Was there a particular horse that you remembered when you made that moral contract, or was it just horses in general? And have there been horses since then that you think have really influenced you and really helped you along the ways, to get your training technique and just to refine your skills?
Yeah, I think that moral contract was early, like to all the horses, and especially the ones that I was seeing. But there are many horses that actually probably shaped the person that I am today, not only as a horseman, but as a outside horses as well.
Yeah.
One was my beautiful quarter horse mare that I had for about 17 years, and I went to buy a colt and ended up seeing this horse, and she was turned crazy, and they said, "Oh, that's a crazy chestnut horse," and of course I ended up buying that horse, and for about 9 months straight, that horse was almost pretty much trying to kill me out of fear, not out of aggression. And then one Sunday morning, I'll never forget, I just put my hands around the horse's neck and I said, I just ran out of ideas. You got to help me out here. And I'm looking for a bit of a change. And the horse made that beautiful, subtle change that it gave me hope that every horse, regardless of where they start, they can have a better future. So, and another horse is a Brumby mare, Spinifex, where she's from Central Australia, and a good friend. We became friends as a result with Angie and Chris, and they had this mare that they were working at a station up in the Northern Territory. It was a 7-year-old mare that got into a fence, and she was just creating havoc in the station there, chasing tourists that were coming out on camels and aggressive to the other horses. So I was called to come and see what I could do, and this horse probably was the most aggressive horse that I ever worked, and now has to be one of the quietest, most beautiful horses around. So I think these two horses in particular really made me polish my horsemanship and just told me never, don't give up. That is always, hope. There's also for better things, but we have to approach that with some skill, of course.
With Spinifex, You know, you're coming up to a property and, you're being asked to come out as the expert, and you've got this horse chasing tourists and chasing the camels and being, just a problem to the people in the area. What did you do? What was your progress through, the communication that you had with her? Well, how did it all start when you first saw her? What did you think? And tell us a little bit about what you did to communicate with her and get her to be a better horse.
I think she was already a better horse. I think she had the experience of having not so good people around her at the time, and then they tried to put her in a camel pen, and then that didn't work out too well. So I ended up getting another horse and coming to a yard, and then she followed pretty aggressively this horse into the yard, and then I removed that other horse, and then it was herself and myself in a big sort of round pen, and then all the horse wanted to do is I pinned her. She was very stallion-like and tried to charge at me with his, sort of arching her neck and his back, and then she would turn around and kick. And all I could do is pretty much for the first hour that I worked with that horse was trying to, besides a lot of playing, I was moving around a fair bit just to show her that I wasn't there to get her or I wasn't aggressive, and let her display what she had to display, and then try to approach her with confidence and just make sure that the horse just, I wanted to let the horse know that I wasn't there to demand anything. I wanted to help the horse, and I think the only way we could do that through the action. So I was there for 4 days on the first trip, and I managed that she would allow me to touch her, and she would turn around. So I ended up working from back to front, and I thought this horse could just double barrel me at any time, but allow me to touch her, and then made my way to the neck, and then on the manages to pattern. I left her, and then I did another 3 trips up to the Northern Territory of 4 days. On the second trip, I halted the horse for the first time, and I did the first leading lesson, and then I tried to handle her feet, and the next one after that was I started her on the saddle. So I do all the work bareback first and then put the saddle. So by the 4th trip, I was riding the horse there in the outback, and she made a complete turnaround. So I think she needed to know that, not every human that approaches the horse is there to demand or to get something out of you or to force you to do something. But it was a really beautiful experience. And to me, the horse is in Tasmania now with my friend Angie. That they moved back from the station to Tasmania, and it's great satisfaction for me seeing the horse so happy and the rider so happy, and then working together as a team, and that's pretty rewarding. So. Yeah.
It sounds like just even that first trip made her into I suppose she was a problem horse, because she was a problem to the people that were in the area. She was a problem to them if she was going to be chasing people. And, so we talk about problem horses, but they can be problem horses if they're a problem to the person that is trying to work with them.
Yeah, well, that's correct. And then what happened? So there was a camel that pushed the fence at the stations, and then this wild camel and these 2 Brumby mares got in and then they fixed the fence, and they were stuck at the station, even though it was a huge station. But it definitely wasn't good for business, because this horse was, every time the tourists got on the camels, the horse would come out of the scrub and then just chase tourists and the camels weren't happy and the people weren't happy. There was talk of, not by my friends there, but other people saying, well, maybe we should shoot this horse. And that's how she came along and said, well, maybe she had been to a clinic in Tasmania a long, long time ago, and I couldn't remember her or anything. Of course, I get to meet a lot of people, but she called me and she said, would you come? And this is the horse. This is the problem. Would you come and try and see what you can do? And that's how I ended up there. But she was definitely causing a lot of headaches for a lot of people, yes.
Yes. So when you go to do your clinics, what's a common problem that people have? Just thinking about people problems to start with, what can they do to help improve communication with horses, to help improve their horsemanship? Because we're here as an educational tool for people that have got horses. What's a good tip that you would give people?
I think that, it's just to, we can say follow your gut feeling, follow your instincts as well, a little bit as well, that intuition, So I think if you go to clinics or lessons that, number one, I think I tell people that, you shouldn't go anywhere where the horse and the person's going to walk away worse off. I think that there's a lot of people going to clinics and then they come back with less confidence than what they went there. And I think it's our job as educators actually to give people the confidence and the skills. And one of the things that I always say I'm big on is I always say knowledge is for sharing, not for keeping. So we have to share as much as what I know with people so they can have better communication with the horses. So biggest tip is, like I say, just go listen, ask questions. My grandfather used to say people that know how always go to people that know why.
Yep.
At clinics, I always give people the why, not the how.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask someone a question and they just tell you that's because it's how it is or how you do it, I think then you just gotta you might want to keep your money in your wallet and go somewhere else where someone's going to give you a why, the reasons why, and that you have to understand how it's going to benefit you and your horse.
Yeah, yeah. If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. And going along with the whole, why, teaching people why, not how, why do you think that there is a bit of a discord with horses? What's caused the whole, people not necessarily having that good communication and good partnership with their horse? What's caused that? How can we go there? How can we learn and improve from there?
I think the best way to do it is just once again approach it from the horse's point of view and try to educate yourself as much as you can. And I think the biggest thing that I say too, one of the biggest things is I don't believe there's a problem between horse and human. I think there's a problem in communication, and I think that communication is the biggest barrier between making progress with horses, And number one, it's an old saying too, but it's just making sure that before we ask the question to the horse that we know the answer that we're expecting from the horse. So a lot of times this horse is asked to do something and then they give you a response according to the horse's interpretation, and then the person might not be what they're looking for, so they put more pressure or they go to the next level or whichever step they want to call it, and then they, out of that pressure, things turn worse rather than better. So I think the most important thing is, like I said, to approach it from the horse's point of view, know what you want out of the horse before you ask that question, and never take the horse out of the horse. Just remember that there's not a dog, it's just a horse, and the horse only thinks horse thoughts. Unfortunately, we sometimes approach horses thinking horse thoughts and human thoughts, and that's where the trouble begins. But I think it's just a barrier in communication rather than a problem. I think a problem is an opportunity. So just to do things better.
I like what you said there, about never taking the horse out of the horse and knowing it. You've talked about communication, knowing the answer. I think there's a whole lot of value for our listeners just in what you said there, and, just about approaching from the horse's point of view and thinking about why they do things. Yeah, not necessarily how.
That's right. And then, I know we sort of, it's information overload for nowadays with technology, but I think you still have to develop that feel for the horse. And, the horses are born feelers, and they would live their days feeling the environment and everything around them. So I think humans can become a little bit detached sometimes to that feel with the horse. And that's what I say. Don't, when I work with people, always is a positive way. And I say, don't try to take the horse out of the horse. And then I would explain their actions perhaps, and then they understand how to ask the horse a little bit better, so to get a better response.
Okay. All right. And Colours, just thinking about, training and having an open mind, everything else, what are you looking forward to now? You've got anything coming up in the future? What's on your agenda for the next year or so?
I'm busy all year round, which is a good thing. I don't put myself out there. I'm not a mass sort of marketing guy or anything like that. So it's just word of mouth, and I've got clinics coming up. I just come back from Brisbane clinics. I've got a training week in Tasmania where I go there again. I go a few times a year.
Yep.
And I train horses for a week. And then January, I'm in the US teaching. I'm doing clinics in the US and training horses there for the whole of January. And then Canada as well. I'm working at a dressage barn, doing clinics for some Canadian people that have attended my last US clinic, so they've taken me to Canada as well. So for the next 2 months, I'm away, and then I've got come back and just travel around the country, of course, doing my, the clinics as well. So I'm pretty much on every state. So.
Okay, good. Now, if people would like to contact you, Carlos, how can they do that? And those details will be in horsechats.com/Carlos Tabernaberri. But if you just go to horsechats.com and search for Carlos, I'm sure you'll find him. But just tell us, Carlos, your contact details.
They can contact me through my website, which is whisperingacres.com. And also they can look at my Facebook page or through Facebook, which is Carlos Tabernaberri Horsemanship. Okay. I think if they can't spell my name, it's a bit hard. Just whisperingacres.com. You can contact me through there, which it might be easier as well.
Sure. Or just go to horsechats.com and search for Carlos.
Absolutely.
Yep. Carlos, thank you. Thank you for your time today. I think really good. I think that the whole idea of having no such thing as natural horsemanship, there's simply good horsemanship. And I think good horsemanship, consistently considering the horse's well-being first and foremost, explains a lot. You know, you're talking about your moral contract, speaking on behalf of the horse, letting the horse be the teacher so you can be the student. I think there's a really strong message there in training, and we'd love to have you back again, Carlos, you know, so you can talk about this a little bit more. Yeah.
I'd love to. Like I said, once again, I want to thank you for having me, and I hope our conversation inspires your listeners to look at horses a little bit different if they're not doing that already. So
that's right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And you know, when you think about what we're doing this for is for the welfare of the horse, you know, that's sort of the main message there. Very good.
Yeah. I would say, like I said, I don't do this for my glory, it's just to glorify the horse. So,
for sure.
So thanks for having me.
For sure. Thanks, Carlos. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.